Hello, my lovely listeners, and welcome to What the Pause? This is Emilia, and today we're going to be talking about the ridiculous, the emotional, the sweaty things about being in menopause. But specifically today, we're going to talk about being in perimenopause or even late stage menopause and raising teenagers, specifically teenage women. Or teenage girls, because they think they're women, but we know that they're still girls. So I just want to introduce my story in terms of when I had my first. So I had my first daughter at 38 and my second at 40. So even that was 16 years ago. I couldn't believe it. It seems like yesterday. But currently I'm juggling both their hormones and my hormones at the same time, which I now realize should come with hazard pay. So what does that mean? We have two hormonal hurricanes in one house. So we're going to go a little bit deeper than the jokes. We're going to talk about why this stage is really challenging for later in life moms, how our hormone shifts impact how we parent, and how their hormone shifts and they actually trigger echoes of our own teenage years, specifically during puberty and going forward. We're also going to talk about what we can teach teens about emotional regulation and understanding how their body works. And even how to create mutual compassion. Yes, even though they're slamming doors, they're telling us they hate us. But we need to teach them this so they understand what we're also going through. So we're going to talk about coping tools for us, coping tools for them, and how to survive the whole circus with your dignity and sanity, hopefully mostly intact. So take a deep breath and let's just jump in here. So why are raising teens later in life hits differently? So you already know you parent differently. You may know people who were 25. I had friends who were 25 and raising kids. I basically thought they were too young. It was in, let's say, comparison to a toddler raising a toddler. You're still figuring out who you are. You care what people think at this time, and you still feel judged by other moms. I feel judged by other moms already at my age, but I digress. But when you have kids later on, after 40, or even after 35, you've lived a little. You've also messed up and succeeded. You've healed from some stuff, or at least shoved it into a tidy emotional junk drawer, or deep in the bowels of your subconscious. So the teen years hit differently, okay? As an older parent, I am more calm. I'm definitely more self-aware, and I'm not trying to survive any identity crisis. And I really don't care if the PTA doesn't like anything that I bring into their bake sales or what have you. Luckily, I don't do that stuff. I don't bake. And you're tired. But not in a way a 25-year-old will ever understand. Remember when you were 25, hitting those clubs, coming back at 4 a.m, 3 a.m, and don't know how you got home? We didn't have cell phones back at that time, so we used the pay phones. We relied on our friends to drive us around and those taxi cabs. But here's the twist. Just when you thought your kids needed you less, your own hormones now need you more. Because why? Remember, guys, there's over 32 symptoms of perimenopause and late-stage menopause. I know we're forgetting things. We're both irritable. And our patience has a shorter battery than my iPhone. And I know I'm on HRT, but for my ladies out there listening, you're probably sweating in places you didn't know you had sweat glands. Oh, and the smells. I thought teenage boys were horrible smelling in their rooms. My daughter is also the same way. I'm like, please clean your room. And she's like, I'll clean it when I want to. And then I don't even go in there because, wow, I thought my BO was bad during perimenopause, but it doesn't beat the smells of your teenage son or teenage daughters, depending. So we're trying to raise teenagers while also trying to raise yourself again. Yeah, because when you hit that pivotal stage of life of perimenopause, I'm not talking about early, I'm talking about towards the end, where you're trying to figure out, why is this happening? Well, we know why it's happening. Why didn't my mother tell me about it? And who else is suffering? Because this is complete bullshit. I cannot believe I'm doing this and having to raise these hormone cases that live with me. So let's talk about the hormonal reality happening at home, what I like to call the hormone collision. So as you know, your teenagers are basically riding a hormonal roller coaster that their moods go up and down without any warning. It's basically when we started perimenopause but didn't know it was, and we were going from 0 to 100 in a millisecond in terms of our rage. That's happening at my house. And it's probably happening at yours, because everything is so dramatic. Everything is life or death. And everything is, nobody gets me. Nobody understands me. Ugh, that's my daughter. So I tried to understand, trust me. But in the meantime, menopause is quietly, and not so quietly, unplugging our hormone supply, like it's closing time at a nightclub when the lights go on, right? And you're like, oh gosh, bright light, get me out of here. So both of you think the other is unreasonably emotional. Your teen is crying because her friend commented on her eyebrows, and you're crying because Costco stopped carrying the protein bars you like. Well, suddenly one day you're looking at each other, and I have this basically every single day with them. Is it you? Is it me? Or is it all of us? Spoiler alert, it is all of us. But here's what's incredible about menopause and adolescence. They're both transitions. I like to call it more transformation, but for now, let's talk about transitions, because both involve identity shifts. You're both faced with insecurities, and you're both bringing mood swings and also the physical body changes that make you question everything. And that is where the opportunity is, because you're not just going through a hormonal change, you're modeling how to go through a hormonal change. We want to teach our teens body literacy while we learn it too. Because one of the biggest gifts we can give our daughters is understanding their body, or what we call body literacy. Understanding their hormones, emotions, cycles, and their physical cues. I know when my daughters are close to their cycle starting, it's basically, I'm speaking to an alternate person, because I have no idea who this kid is talking to me right now, who's yelling at me, who's giving me that side eye, who wakes up and just starts slamming doors for no exact reason. But I didn't grow up with deal with it. Well, actually, I did grow up with, and many of us did too, pardon me. Oh, just deal with it. Don't talk about it. And hide your tampon in your sleeve like a spy. And remember when we were in our teens, and, I didn't start wearing tampons till I was like 16. And remember we used to wear our pads, and we used to tell our friends, can you see my pad? I can't believe it. My daughter did that to me too the other day. And I'm like, wow, that doesn't change. But now with menopause, forget it, because we know no one told us what was coming. This is the stage nobody warned us about. So here we are, teaching our daughters something we're also learning, both together in real time. And there is the beauty in that vulnerability. And here's what I tell my girls. Please feel free to steal this. Your body is not the enemy. Hormones aren't bad. They're just the messengers telling you what your body is going through and perhaps what you can do about it. Number 2. Huge feelings don't make you dramatic. They make you human. And that's why I say to my girls, you need to cry it out. Please cry it out. Teens need this more than ever. My mother would say, oh, stop crying. Oh, stop crying. She tells that to me even, last month. Oh, stop crying. And I always fucking hated it. I hated when she said that, and I swear to myself that I would never tell my girls, stop crying, suck it up, because that never did anybody any good. My girls are strong, but not because I told them to suck it up. We are both transitioning, right? We are in terms of, physical, mental, everything. And so are they. It's just in opposite directions. We are tapering off from our cycles while they are just starting to be regular, hopefully, and also experiencing changes. This helps them understand that mom is not losing it. It's mom is changing too. This is important because sometimes when I didn't know that I was going through perimenopause before I went to my doctor, my girls would say, Mom, what's wrong with you? Why are you crying all the time? Are you okay? Are you crazy? And wow, don't call a woman crazy, especially if she's dealing with mental health and taking medication. Okay. All right. So I tell them, you can feel whatever you feel, and you have permission to ask for that space. And my little one, she's 14, she always will tell me, Mom, I just need some space right now. So she'll go to her room and then she'll come out and she'll feel a lot better. I could never do that in my household. Are you kidding me? If I told my parents I need space, you want space? And they would smack me across the head, basically. Okay? So again, my Gen X women, especially those who are of a child of immigrants, your first generation American, Canadian, like myself, or European, whatever the case may be, you have felt it. Because your parenting was very different, very stringent. And for those who are lucky enough to have a very supportive, caring household with no physical abuse, no verbal abuse, you are one of the very, very few lucky ones. I told myself when I had my girls that I would never do what I was told. Not parent the way that I was treated. It's not that my mom and dad didn't do good. They just were extremely strict. And because my parents had a 20-year age difference, dad had 3 girls. My mom was only 17 when he got married to her at 37. So think about it. There's 3 totally different generations in a household. And it wasn't fun sometimes. Actually, most of the times. But I digress. When I saw my mom bang her head against the wall when she was going through peri, I thought for sure she was nutso. Because my father made us all crazy, okay, at one way or another. Just with his presence and his looks to us and the rage that would come out of his voice. And I swear to God, I said to myself, no fucking way am I doing that to my girls. So if I feel a little bit strong about this, you know why, okay? So I'm parenting way different than I was parented. Another thing to tell our daughters is that bodies are shifting throughout life, and that's completely normal. Normalize aging early, okay? My girls are like, wow, Mom, I look different from 16 than I did 3 years ago. Yeah, because you're changing, and it's beautiful, and I love watching this. And when we share our experiences, ladies, we teach them emotional intelligence, or EQ, self-regulation and compassion. But not through just lecturing them. We got to do it through our examples. I stopped yelling. I stopped having the rages when my perimenopause was approaching late stage. Why I say late stage is because I'm 54 and my last cycle was 130 days ago. I've had cycles that were in between that long, and then hello, Aunt Flo came back. But this time, let's hope she not knocking on my door at all anymore. So I'm feeling a lot better. But how can you create this mutual compassion in such a hormonal household? Okay. So here's a secret. Compassion isn't soft. Compassion is structure. It's boundaries. It's clarity. And it's also the language that you use. So here's the tools I use. Number 1, Name what's happening. If you're having a hot flash, or you know that your rage is it just coming right to the surface, tell them. Tell your girls or tell your sons, I'm having a hot flash, step away, I just need some air. Then teens relax when they understand the why. This is why when toddlers ask a question and they say, but why? And you say something in response and they say, but why? And it goes on and on and on. Well, when they're older and you tell them exactly why you're feeling how you're feeling, then they understand why. So try to always talk about, or what I call narrating your regulation. What does that mean? So I'll tell my girls, I need a break. So I'm going to take a walk or go outside, or I'm going to go upstairs, because they know I'm feeling overwhelmed. And that teaches them exactly how to pause. This is something I never learned. I always felt that I had to deflect, avoid. I would work 3 jobs. I didn't want to be at home because I hated my home life at the time. And this is between the ages of 15 and 17, I would say. Because no one told me what was going on with my mom and why she was feeling that way. But also, she didn't understand what I was going through at the time. Let's use some neutral language. Instead of, why are you being so dramatic? I always used to use that. Now I say, you're going through a lot right now, sweetheart. Talk to me. When you say it like that, you may think to yourself, ugh, I can't say it that way. It's so insincere. How about you try it? And stop assuming what your kids are going to think of you. All right? Number 4, we have to apologize. Okay? And I know that apologizing for me as a Greek woman is very difficult because I didn't hear sorries from my father ever. And he knew he was wrong. Now, because menopause is so messy, we kind of tend to snap, but we also apologize, which shows them that we are emotionally responsible. And they're going to learn this. You're going to teach them these signs. So I say, when your voice gets sharper when you're stressed, my sign, I know when I go into my OCD, is when I'm stressed. Then I start, putting away dishes. I start, doing chores that didn't even need to be done, because I just want to make sure that they know I'm stressed, but they learn to read you guys, right? Also, they learn to read themselves. And it's interesting because my oldest now loves to clean and loves her room and the kitchen. But when she needs that break or she's feeling a little stressed, that's her distraction too. And she learned this from me, how I learned it from my mother. So also, you have to have some humor in the house, right? The humor, or what we call the hormone humor. But not mean. We're not insulting each other. But, something like the estrogen levels in this house are giving Greek tragedy meets National Geographic. And yes, pun intended, because I am Greek. It helps diffuse this tension. Okay? I hate it when the girls are just looking at me side-eyed, frowning all the time. But then when I say something a little bit funny in what they understand in their Gen Z talk, then they'll crack. And that's what we need. We need some humor. We don't need tension in the house all the time. I lived with that. I lived with constant tension. And I refuse to live that way. Maybe that's why I'm divorced and having my girls. So here are some coping tools for us moms, our menopausal moms. We need to regulate before the moment. What's really important here? You need your sleep. I know if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, don't even bother me. And you're probably thinking, oh, you're so lucky you get 8 hours of sleep. I tell my girls, leave me alone, because if you want a happy mommy, and I use those terms, happy mommy, like they're 3 years old, then mommy needs a lot of sleep. And I'm telling you, I have 9 hours of sleep sometimes a day, maybe 10. And I don't give a shit what y'all think about that. But let me tell you, it helps. Hydration, protein, magnesium, berberine. These are things I take on a daily basis. They're boring, yes, but they're very powerful because it helps you regulate those hormones. Apart from everything else that you are using. I know HRT also helps too. But let's build yourself some cool down rituals. Like, I know when I used to get my hot flashes before HRT, I would have like a cooling fan. A friend of mine gave me a menopausal cooling towel as a joke. But let me tell you, Sandra, if you're listening, I still use it sometimes. And when my girls are, if they have a fever or whatever, that also really helps. And make sure you have a fan, okay? A fan you keep plugged in like it's life support, all right? If you're not on the HRT route, if you're not taking anything for your hot flashes, please look into that. You don't need to be going through this. Why are you putting your body through it? And your girls don't want to see this. They should see it, first of all. But they're like, wow, why are you suffering so much? Is there anything you can take? You also need to support your brain because you have those brain fogs, memory lapses. I have a calendar on my refrigerator. And I tell the girls, because they don't even know how to use an Outlook calendar, or they use their own calendar on their phone. But me sending a meeting request or an event request, they're not going to accept it. So I tell them, if it's not on the calendar, I'm going to forget. So they know it's on the calendar. Lists, reminders, less multitasking. Think to yourself, minimal chaos. And ladies, let's drop this guilt, all right? Don't feel guilty because you snapped at your daughters or your sons. Don't feel guilty if you think that you're a shitty mom, because you're not, okay? We're not failing. We are transforming into a better version of ourselves for our girls. I love it because when I got divorced or when I turned 50, I became Emilia 2.0. And I want you all to think about that, becoming the best version you can for yourselves and model that to your daughters. Give yourself some credit, right? If I averted a mood swing or I avoided raising my voice, let me tell you, it rewires the brain. It makes me feel a lot better, and it makes me realize I'm not a monster. So I caught it. And that's something that you may need to learn how to do. So coping tools for your teens. Yeah, teens need tools too. And yes, they do listen. Just not when you want them to. It's like my little one who says, Mom, please stop badgering me about cleaning my room. I will never do it because you're telling me to do it. But I will take my time and I will decide when to clean my room. And I said, sure, you can decide, but you have a week. And if it's not clean, everything's going to be out on the porch. She cleaned her room. 2 days later. Here are some tools. Language for feelings. Instead of, oh my God, I'm going to kill you, I'm freaking out, try, I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. You're going to have them do some sensory resets. Sometimes having a cold drink because they're dehydrated. And when we're dehydrated, the brain is not functioning too well, right? Tell them to take a 10-minute walk. Or my girls love weighted blankets. They love nice blankets on them and they just relax. This works not only for teens, but for us menopausal mommies. Let's teach them the HALT method, HALT, which is, are you hungry? Are you angry? Lonely? Tired? Altogether? Or hangry, as we know? Because that's when most teens break down. When they're hungry, when they're angry, and then they think they're lonely, but they're not. They're with you, but I get it. And they're tired. Hormone education. Explain. This week you may feel sad for no reason, and it's normal. We need to normalize this cycle with them. But they hate it when they say, oh my God, Mom, stop saying it's hormonal. It's always my hormones, always my hormones. No, tell them it's normal what they are feeling and thinking. And then we're going to create some non-negotiable self-care routines. They need to sleep. They need their water and they need some movement. These are essential. It's not them on the phone all the time. It's getting out for a walk, getting them to the mall for a walk. Just even window shopping helps too. So I really do hope that those tools help for them. So this is now what I call the beauty of joint transformation. The part that no one talks about. This is the actual one of the most bonding times in a mother-daughter relationship, because you're learning your new body and she's learning hers at the exact same time. You're both changing identities and you're both confused some days, but you're also growing into new versions of yourself. And the conversations you have now with them, they will shape her entire womanhood. Menopause isn't an ending, it's an initiation. And teens, especially teenhood, as we call it, isn't chaos. It's an awakening for them. What a gift to walk around these roads together. You are doing enough. You are teaching more than you know. And your daughters will remember your honesty, your humor, and most importantly, your resilience. They're not going to remember your hot flashes. They may remember you were a little bit cuckoo, but they're going to know why. If you really enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend who's also living in a hormonal circus. But until then, be well, be safe, be healthy, and embrace the pause. I'll see you next time.